Hello and welcome to the STR Sovereignty podcast presented by Yada. My name is Steve Haase. I'm joined by my co-founder and CEO, Peter Ojdrovic. Today we're going to talk about RCS and how it is the messaging upgrade nobody told you about. Ready?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, let's do it, man. Jump in.
All right, I got excited there for a second. This episode is really cool. And, anyone that's listening now or anyone that watches this later, RCS is one of the coolest things that has ever come to short-term rentals and to hospitality, and is one of the biggest levers that you can pull to drive marketing, to drive repeat bookings, to drive engagement on your upsells, and to really build a phenomenal just cycle and ecosystem and everything between you and your guests. It's really cool stuff.
So what is RCS? It stands for Rich Communication Services, and it's exactly what you were hoping SMS would become. It means you've got all of these trust factors, like your logo, you've got images coming through. People know that when they get it from you, it's you, and that brand comes through in that experience. SMS, you just get the letters and the links and stuff. RCS, you actually get the brand experience, which is why we are so pumped about it, because it comes in on their phone, it comes in, through iMessage, through the text message, but it is a rich experience. Peter, tell us about what exactly that looks like.
Yeah, so the best way to think about it is an upgrade from, like a flip phone style of SMS messaging, like limited to 160 characters, things like that, to something that feels much more like iMessage or WhatsApp. But the really cool thing is that it lives inside of your phone by default. So everybody adopted it, like Apple, Android, like everyone that sends text messages, really to create this phenomenally clear and really well-built unified experience across, whatever ecosystem that you're on. So there's no downloads, no new accounts, nothing to install. Like you don't need to create new apps. You can use it in Europe and the US and South America and Asia, like everywhere. It just works with the existing text messaging infrastructure that's already out there. But it's, as you said earlier, you get your brand name at the top, logos, verified check marks, and then tappable buttons, like the ability to look at high-res photos of your properties, like carousels of offers and loyalty rewards, and just these really, really rich experiences that happen natively in the SMS and in the phone inbox without having to download something else or install something else.
Yeah. And you kind of know it intuitively, but the big gain is that when you send a message to someone's phone, it gets opened. It gets engaged with. Like email, the default is just delete everything unless you really want to read it. SMS, it's the exact opposite. It's read everything unless you know that you can delete it. And so what we're talking about in terms of numbers, an email is going to get around a 20 to 25% open rate with a 2 to 5% click rate. Most people are not going to see your emails, although
interact with it.
This is true. Email does still work. Let's just put that little asterisk there, that 20% is not nothing. So you should be doing email, but it's not going to be your barn buster.
Especially with email, like you're able to reach everybody in your audience. So with email, you can blast 10,000, 20,000 folks at once and get a couple thousand opens and clicks. Email is still a really, really powerful platform.
But if we compare that 20% open rate to the 98% open rate on a phone-based message, it's just a different ballgame entirely.
Yeah.
The issue with phone-based messages is that the click-through rate is much lower. People are going to be suspicious of links. There's no branding. It's just a little weirder, which is why WhatsApp is something that we're really excited about, because it brings that same great engagement, but it's just much more. It's much richer, right? It's got challenges in terms of how you opt in and kind of creating that flow, and not a lot of people in the US use it. So that's why RCS is kind of it's the next great thing.
Yeah. And RCS, you've got the open rates that you have with email and WhatsApp, like hovering in the 90-95% plus range, but you have these really, really high click-through rates that are, in some cases 5 or 10 times higher than what you get with SMS or email. 15, 20, 25, 30% open click-through rates, because you have that branded experience. You have the logo, the verified check marks, the high-res images, the rendered links in the cards, and it's really powerful because it lets you reach folks at the same precision of SMS, but having a much higher open rate and click-through rate because of that trust factor, and frankly, because of the aesthetics factor of getting cards and buttons and tappable elements, as opposed to just a wall of text with some embedded links.
Exactly. So let's talk about when to use this. Obviously, there's post-stay engagement, kind of sending a broad campaign to everyone to invite them to rebook. But there's also some powerful use cases for pre-arrival, in-stay. Just think about how different it is to send a wall of text that someone then has to read. Like, it's just not hospitable to have to find your way through all those instructions, versus if you're able to have photos, have buttons, have a video directly in that message. It's just a different experience.
It really is. We recently rolled out RCS, and there are a couple of key moments where it's really driving a ton of results. Again, because of that branded experience, because of the aesthetic factor of it, and the fact that there's real buttons and real interactive elements and so on. First, and this is something that's really important to us here at Yada, is loyalty. And all of the interactions that we're driving with RCS and loyalty have a significantly higher engagement rate, because instead of just sending somebody, again, a wall of text saying like, hey, you've got 16,500 points, like click on this random link to redeem them, we can embed offers directly in that message. We can embed rewards and redemptions in that message and in that rich communications ping that the guest gets, without having to scroll through a bunch of text to figure out what's going on. So loyalty is something that is just a very, very key moment to use RCS, because you're trying to drive an action and you're trying to drive a result. The second place that we're really seeing RCS be an incredible benefit is with this product that we have called Signals, which very intelligently figures out, the best message to send to the right guest at the right time with targeted offers. The really cool thing there is, previously you'd send a text message or an email. Or let's keep it a text for now, but like, you'd send a text message saying like, hey, Steve, thanks for staying at wonderful villa number 5. And a booking link. Here, you can embed a picture of that property that you stayed at in one of the cards on the RCS, and add some buttons like, relive this memory or something like that takes them to the direct booking site. So, with all of those really personalized touch points, RCS lets you take that level of personalization from like a 5 out of 10 and bring it up to a 9 out of 10, because instead of just text, you're embedding photos from where they stayed. You're embedding actual collateral from what their previous experience was like at one of your properties. So it's incredibly powerful for those two.
Yeah, absolutely. So when someone has checked out and you follow up with them 2 weeks after their stay, 4 weeks after their stay, what is it that you're asking them to do, and how compelling is that ask? Obviously, in the OTA, you're going to have in your property management system, you're going to have the requests for reviews, because those reviews are super important. But marketing beyond just that one review, like where you actually want that guest to come back, you're probably going to want to send them to your social channel.
Yeah.
And if you include that link, and that link has a nice, rich preview of what your social channel looks like, you're going to have a higher likelihood of them engaging with it, following you. And once they start following you, then they can reshare it to their network. They can be reminded over and over of how great your place is. So use those RCS messages for post-stay re-engagement, whether it's for getting next year's booking already lined up, or something as kind of low touch as, hey, follow us on social.
And the reason why RCS is so good at this is because, most sites that like social sites already have like rendered, like they've worked with RCS to build protocols so that like when you share an Instagram page via RCS, like it renders beautifully inside of their SMS inbox. Same with like Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or something like that. So as you're sending your past guests to your socials, again, we come back to this point of personalization and aesthetics. Like everything that you send them, if it's to popular sites like Instagram, TikTok, X, whatever, gets rendered really, really beautifully in that thread. So, 4 weeks after they leave, yeah, you can send them to a direct booking site, but also if you send them to your socials, the chance and the probability of somebody clicking on that link and opening it up on Instagram and liking and sharing is much, much, much higher. So, the trend that I'm seeing here is really around RCS offering not only the ability to have like interactive components in the SMS messages that you're sending and in the same channel that your guests are already in, but also have them look really, really nice, because let's face it, the nicer something looks, the higher the engagement rate is. I'd always rather click on a button and a picture than on a, just a wall of text. So those two things combined are really, really powerful.
Absolutely. So how Yada can help you with this, if this sounds like something you want to implement at your hospitality business, is we provide these tools. And it's not just up to you to figure it out. We actually walk you through the whole process. We are here to make sure that it doesn't just sit as shelfware, but it actually gets the results that you want. It gets into people's hands. And so we handle sender verification, onboarding, compliance. All you need to do is upload your logo. We even pull in your past messages to figure out what is your tone of voice, what do you talk about with each of your properties, so that we can personalize those messages to your guests for you.
Yeah. And not only that, RCS allows us to run analytics and to track things like button clicks and image views, et cetera, in RCS. So we work with this data across millions and millions of messages sent to have a very, very good sense of what works and what doesn't. So as our system generates content and sends messages out, even something from as simple as, the best time of day to send a message to a guest based on where their phone is, to what type of images and text and things like that works best. We've got that all covered, because, we're not only, doing this for one customer, we're doing this for hundreds of customers across millions of messages, and have some pretty good data to really understand like what works best, what drives the most conversions, what gets people engaging with loyalty, what gets folks engaging with your direct booking site. So that's something that we're really, really proud to be able to bring to you guys.
Yeah. So the challenge that we have for you, if you're going to attain sovereignty, you got to master some challenges. And the one that we have today is to take an underperforming moment in your guest journey, try it instead as an RCS, and see the lift that you get from making it more interactive, from putting it on somebody's phone. You're going to be blown away.
Yeah. That's really the thing that we want everybody to push for this week is, if you do it through Yada, or if you do it on your own with your own phones, give it a shot and take just one part of your guest interaction where you feel like you get the biggest amount of, whether it's revenue boost or repeat booking or somebody on your website. Send those messages out and let us know what happens, because we are really, really excited to hear how everyone is using these tools like SMS and RCS and direct communications to drive bookings and to drive visits and drive repeat revenue.
Beautiful. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Until next week.